of Rest is Noise. I hope you enjoyed the last episode. We are back with a similar format for weekly news. And today we will talk about the shortest martial law in the history. We will be talking a little bit of turbulence in Canadian government. Then we would move towards the tech news. We will talk about Nvidia supercomputer and also TikTok ban. So I'll start with the South Korean martial law, and I'll give a brief history, and then I will let Ali and Tausif talk about what happened and what is gonna happen next. So South Korea has a very similar history to Pakistan when it comes to martial law and coups. So when the Second World War ended, they start with a government back in 1960s. The first president was after they got independence from Japan was sent into exile by the student revolt. Then after his successor comes in, he lasted in the office for 2 years before he got ousted by the coup. So there's a 20 years of um, 20 years of dictatorship before Park Chung-hee, who got assassinated by his own spy chief in 1979. Then we have Major General Du Wu. In 1979, he led the second coup. After that, the person who won the election was Ru Wow, and he was the ally of the Chun from 1979 coup. We have Roh Moo-hyun, which was the president from 2003 to 2008, who committed suicide. Then we have Lee Moyong, who was sentenced for 15 years in prison for corruption charges after stepping down. Then Park Chung-hee's daughter was again, after she was impeached, she was also sentenced for 24 years in prison for corruption charges, and later she was pardoned back in 2017. So they do have a history of exile, assassinations, murder, dictatorship. So what happened between 3rd and 4th December really shocked their country because they did not want to live those dark times all over again when the martial law was declared. So I want to know, Ali, why do you think that happened? What the facts you know, and why he declared that martial law?
Okay. So first of all, disclaimer, like, although like they have same history as Pakistan, I think they have matured quite enough. Like within a decade, they were a vibrant democracy. So I'm not sure if we can still say, like, I mean, जो न्यूज़ में देखा, like माशाल्लाह आता है उसके within few hours opposition इकट्ठी होती है, although like they had deployed army for on all key government like facilities. उनकी अपोजिशन इकट्ठी होती है, दे पास अ यूनानिमस रेजोल्यूशन जो प्रेशर डालती है प्रेसिडेंट पे, प्रेसिडेंट back off होता है. And now we have seen some arrests, although like the president himself, he has refused to even answer or represent himself in the hearing. Anyhow, I think who are like the obviously the public reason they gave was like just like how we hear in Pakistan, ke security threats hain, like the neighboring countries, blah blah blah. But I think so. And again, I'm saying this very carefully because it's not like a very common trend for us to watch like news coming out of Korea, and like not that much interest there for us. But what I have been hearing is like they do have corruption problems, they do have big corporation problems, and they do have those big corporation having control on government. I don't see how they have those security concerns. Like, I mean, we haven't seen any recent incident that can say, oh, like there has been a provocation, there has been, I mean, I know I can expect that, but we haven't seen. So seems like it was political move for power grab that wasn't planned well. And there isn't much to uncover from like what I can see from public news channels, or even I try to watch some. So all of them are just saying like, oh, he was being power hungry. He had some businessmen lined up with him. They wanted to topple the government, but even opposition wasn't on board. So I mean, what we have usually seen in Pakistan is like, whenever these kind of things happen, at least there is one party who is going to support the martial law. But apparently there was no one was standing behind him. Like military, yeah, military was there, but that was because of given the presidential power. So whatever notion he passed. So I think other than that, I'm gonna just leave it here. I don't think I if I have more insights on that. So yeah.
Thank you, Ali. So, what do you know, Tosif? And I also want you to talk a little bit about was there any corruption charges before this happened? Was something brought in? There was some investigation, something happening?
Right. So I talked to one of the Korean friends, and so the guy is not popular there. Like he is super unpopular, has been in the government for like 5 odd years. इससे पहले दूसरी पार्टी की गवर्नमेंट थी. The history, just like you said, there is a history of martial laws right from when the country was born actually. फिर कोरियन वॉर और उसके बाद से जो है there is a cycle of country being passed from one dictator slash military ruler to the next. And in the start, at least what they used to justify it was they were right out of the Korean War. There was like serious divide between the communists and the South Koreans. तो उस time पे they were using it to crush, like at least they were saying that communism जो है वो सर उठा रहा है, we need to crush it. So they used to justify the use of force as such, and then it ran for decades over and over until they eventually settled on um, democracy. And the thing with this guy is he's not very popular among the youth, because they are more like the conservative party of their country, and then there is the other liberal slash democrat party that was in the government before him. um, so that's one thing. Of course, a lot of the youth is not like uh, willing to play this game, and largely they are not aware of their history of the martial law. So they were born in a democracy, and they have seen their country economically, whatever progress it has made. So the appetite among the population was not there at all. So that was one of the reason. And of course there, um, like the guy is has a lot of corruption allegations against him. So there is like a whole um, set of issues that the population, especially the younger population, had against him. So I think that was partly the reason. Like some of the clips that we saw, they were like young people stepping up, and there are even visuals of them snatching guns from the military personnel. So yeah, it was supercharged right from the start. I did not exactly get into how did they mobilize so quickly, but like even from the that person's point of view, I think his execution to impose this martial law was like super. I don't know what he was thinking. Okay,
पीटीवी बंद नहीं था किया उन्होंने.
yeah, like
Yeah.
you have, like there are some basic things that you have to
Mm.
do if you are to take out such an operation. But yeah, of course, uh the reaction from the people was immediate and strong enough to resist it. And of course uh the politicians from the opposition parties rallied behind, and eventually it was like defeated.
Okay, I think they're still doing the investigation, though he, as Ali said, he's refusing to cooperate, though
Yeah,
he's
they're
been,
trying to impeach him now.
yeah. So they bringing him on Christmas Day for the investigation. So let's see. So still a developing story. So let's move on to our second story, which is how Canadian government is in turbulence. And so my interest in Canadian politics was very little when I moved here, and I think now it's growing over time. Um, I think
Don't
we
worry,
know,
even most Canadians they don't
yeah.
care.
I think what's interesting for me is कि जब आप पाकिस्तान में नहीं थे तो there was this whole persona of Justin Trudeau. Like when we are back home, we were like there was this because he has like a good PR machinery. He likes to dress up where he goes. We have seen the Indian tour. He dressed up more Indian than anybody else. Watched too many Bollywood movies. And it was and his immigration policies, his acceptance of refugees, his legalization of cannabis. There was this, and he ran over the popularity of his father. So definitely there was some spark. But in last couple of years, since I moved here and I spoke to people, there are a lot of people who are liberals who have always voted for liberals have started feeling uncomfortable with his policies on the economic front, even on immigration front. Um, Now we see it more and more with day by day. We see both side of even the immigrants are not really happy with him. The people who already are the native Canadians are not that happy with him. There's a lot of performative activism coming from him, which doesn't make a lot of sense to a lot of people. So, in light of elections coming up, how do you see the resignations coming from his loyal, the most loyal minister, um, who has good policies? Um, she was doing pretty good. What we have heard so far, she has. So, what do you think happened that she decided to resign, and her? What do you feel about her resignation letter? I want to know. What do you think, Tassif?
Right, so far nothing has been stated clearly, but I think the what we have been reading in news is that she was, by the way, the deputy prime minister.
Yeah.
Like if Trudeau were to step aside, she would have been the person leading the country. So like according to the reports in the news, it's largely some disagreement over. So she has had some problems with the way Trudeau wanted the economy to run, especially ये जो last इन्होंने December और ये जो 2 महीने का tax break दिया है, it has been reported wasn't very in favor of that. But Trudeau wanted to run it in this holiday season to probably better prepare themselves for the election next year, or maybe they were planning to go into election sooner, uh, one might argue. And the other thing is, and which, by the way, has been a challenging position, is what is happening south of the border. Uh, Trump के आने के बाद he has basically upped the ante. Uh, अभी से कुछ साल पहले, like even with Trump, like Canada would be the last country that you would want to go at war with, right? But
Mhm.
the kind of posturing that has been happening by the Trump team is just like, how do you deal with it? So it has been reported that she had a problem with that we should be more vocal instead of being timid, and we should not, we should be prepping for a likely trade war. And that was partially the reason she was not in favor of doing these 2 months of tax break. She, well, it has been reported, was in favor of like building more, something like a war chest that will be useful once Trump starts wielding this axe of tariffs that he is wanting to do. Um, so that seems to be the primary reason. But other than that, regarding the popularity of the government, I think another of his main guy, Sean Fraser, the housing person, has also already resigned, and there are like 9 odd resignations in total. Though, in fairness, a lot of them are like taking a break or stepping away from politics. So you cannot count that, but it still puts a dent in your kind of day-to-day politics, or uh, especially with the election year approaching. Regarding the popularity, of course, he was like super popular at the start, being following like this socialist agenda. And the thing with these things is like it looks very appealing until the reality of economics hit. And the reality of economics did hit, especially with the COVID. With the COVID, the problem that we saw everywhere, when you opened this stimulus and basically flushed the market with money, the prices had to shoot up, which they did. And then we saw this round of inflation, जो कि लोग people were having a problem with. और फिर उसके बाद it had the double whammy effect, because to counter inflation you had to increase the interest rates, and that increased the mortgage payments for all those house buyers. So yeah, it just, the effect was just compounded over the years. So given all of that, and given the stories that we have been seeing from the recent elections in the last year and a half, it is highly likely that they are also gonna end up losing, like the other incumbents have in other governments. The story in US is exactly similar. Um, so that's why, like, a lot of these things do not matter until people start feeling it. So the in this US election, a lot of the cohort of people that no one would have imagined कि वो कभी भी Trump को वोट देंगे, they ended up voting Trump.
Yeah.
And the reason is again the reality of economics. जब आपको day to day आपके wallet पे pressure feel हो रहा है, it eventually is gonna translate into something.
Mhm.
And उसके लिए आप किस चीज को ब्लेम करते हो? कोई इमिग्रेशन को ब्लेम करेगा, कोई अगर कोई किसी को जॉब मार्केट टाइट लग रही है वो उसको ब्लेम करेगा. बट a lot of those problems might have been overlooked अगर inflation इतना ऊपर ना जाती, and as a consequence of that interest rates आपको इतने increase ना करने पड़ते. So a lot of that was a function of that. So what we are seeing in Canada is no special. It is the play out of pretty much the same story that has been happening elsewhere.
Great. So, Ali, there was something in her letter that I want you to talk a little bit about, and whatever else you have on this topic. She said, know when we are working for them, and they equally know when we are focused on ourselves. Inevitably, our time in government will come to an end.
Yeah, okay. So before I do that, I want to state few things about, I think just for listeners to understand Canadian politics. So I will bring my Pakistani view and then how I
बिल्कुल
have
बिल्कुल.
been. Yeah. So Canada के politics बहुत boring politics traditionally, right? So that's why now whatever happening is very interesting because resignations आते हैं, but mostly like you should look into the past, resignations तब आते हैं जब कोई scandal होता है, right?
हाँ जी.
Not usually because of fear of elections or like government change होती हैं, like you kind of know like okay we have a tough time अब ये होगा अब मतलब like to be very fair I don't think like इस situation में like COVID आया they as like I'm not repeating those things but like how like it was very difficult for all the countries around the world के उसमें stimulus देना business को live रखना फिर then like having that counter effect of inflation फिर फिर rate hikes और अब rate cuts वगैरह but I don't think कि उस अब जो कनाडा की अब हो क्या रहा है like which is a pattern around the world कि Canada was very immigration friendly. That's the same persona we had in Pakistan, and I'm sure many people still have it. Justin Trudeau was the face of it. Justin Trudeau was the face of culturally multiculturalism, like diversity, uh,
And the
Afghanistan,
interfaith
Syria,
harmony
right?
and everything.
Interfaith harmony. You would see him in going to like masjids, gurdwara, everywhere, right? And that was very appealing. I don't think if all like that persona has changed, but what has happened is the reality within the Canada has changed. अब लोगों की lives, whatever, whoever, doesn't matter who you're talking to, everyone is going through a difficult time economically. And as the chief said, when you feel pressure on your wallet, you want or you need someone to blame to. Although like I feel for her, but I mean, the thing which we are completely ignoring is it was her policies के आज आप 22 billion deficit में हैं. Like you were
Hmm.
22 billion, which like I think it was overall it's 60 something, but they estimated it to be around 40 something. So there is a $22 billion difference. And then as the chief said, they had some disagreement. I think what I heard is, and I heard from someone who is quite close to government, Ron, he was saying that so Trudeau approached her. She wasn't ready to leave her job, by the way. So Trudeau approached her. He said, "Oh, you should take over. I'm gonna bring someone new for this role because obviously he was seeing those numbers." And then, as rightly Tosif mentioned, they had some disagreement on this GST break as well. So Trudeau wanted to move her to something else. The name, the new position was like looking into U.S. relations and how to tackle
Hmm.
like all of those things which are going to come with Trump new term. She said, "No, I want to keep doing what I'm doing. I have plans for it." So they had like 1 hour long, as mentioned, 1 hour long heated discussion. So she said, "No, I'm not going like that." And then that's why she drafted that resignation letter very carefully, as you mentioned. Like our time will come to an end. You do things like as many Canadians know, blah blah blah. Like you people are doing things for themselves. I think अगर उसको समराइज किया जाए तो वो ये कह रही है कि कैनेडियंस को पता है कि क्या चीज़ें परफॉर्मेटिव हैं like hinting into GST and our time will come to end that might hinting towards like obviously we know election is next year but now
Yeah.
as a consequence NDP has already said कि हम अब अगर अभी no confidence motion आया तो we will support that, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's mean the government is
Can go any time.
is going like anytime soon. I think if I'm not wrong, they yesterday called for like they sent a letter to saying that let's have that session. So I think it's just a matter of time. But अगर Trudeau side से भी देखा जाए, I mean, what else can you do? Other like okay, so finance minister की policies like you can blame that stupid amount of stimulus जो कि like people have ended up having so much money that they were overspending. But it was COVID. Nobody was prepared for that. US had the same problem. We can't single out a single country who did very well during that time. So,
True.
I mean, maybe bad, but that shouldn't be the only reason for them to be having this kind of popularity. I mean, their government is like they have lost all the by elections recently.
Yeah.
even their strongholds, even like 406 416 areas which had like no history of like in the recent times, no history of having conservative being elected. So I think it's just like a very wrong time for them. So whatever shufflings they're doing, I mean, I think they added six new people yesterday, six new ministers
Eight.
yesterday, eight new ministers
Yeah.
yesterday. So this is like, I mean, I think they just have in their mind that we are not giving up. We will not have this impression of saying yes, like we effed up. So they will just keep doing whatever they should do by being in government until the time comes for election. Either it's by default, like completing their term, or having by election. But एक चीज जो मैं मेंशन करना चाहता हूँ कि if you look at X or if you talk with people, people are just finding reasons. Like I
Mm.
understand mortgage payments high hain, in job market is pretty bad, but then even as you mentioned, like immigration and everything, immigrants are hating immigrants, right?
Yeah.
So people are like, is it okay? अब ये हमने न्यू ट्रेंड देखना है कि I think they said by 2025 we will have zero immigration. Let's have another round like in 2 years and have them, like I think we will see maybe even sooner than that, we will see how they will backtrack from that, saying,
Yeah.
oh yeah, like a country like Canada, we can't function with zero
Without, yeah,
immigration,
without immigrants.
right?
Yeah.
So they will do whatever they need to do to win this election, both conservatives, both liberals. I mean, the same guy who was immigration minister became the housing minister and now quit the politics. So I think these are the two main problems Canada is having. Like the
Yeah.
people who are pretty like saying, we invited so many people, and then the housing is batshit crazy, right? And then that guy realizing, oh, I think I don't have a place in Canadian politics in near future. So that's where the Canadian politics is. But to be honest, like if you listen to the other side as well, like although they say like we have common sense policy and everything, ask them to show what they will be doing for housing, ask them to show what they will be doing for Canadian politics. So another thing I want to mention: have you guys watched any discussions in the parliament?
A little bit, yes.
So what interesting is they will be asking questions, nobody will be responding to that.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting. At least like we have so in Pakistan politics, I think there is much more sense when you like, for example, putting up a question by speaker, somebody will answer, and at the end they will add whatever they want to do. But over here, Trudeau will be asked a question, and he will be going over to something completely different. So I think
Yeah.
that's where politics is. But usually
They're
people,
deflecting a lot.
they're deflecting a lot. They don't answer the direct questions. They will make you think, oh no, this is your problem. You need to hate that. You need to like that. So that's where we are at.
Because a lot of the frankly a lot of the answers to the questions, so if they were to give the genuine answers, they are not acceptable, or they are only going to make them more unpopular, right? Like the answers to those questions are not easy. Like,
Yeah, because they don't want to take sides, which they should,
Mhm.
I think which politicians should. For example, ask them what they feel, even conservative, ask them what they feel about like this ongoing conflict. They will say one thing today, but then they will have a counter statement which the other side can have some peace with. So that's how they play. That, or at least
Yeah.
that's my understanding is they don't they they are smart in term for themselves. Like they will see, if I have said that today, tomorrow I need to set something which I can use. Like he will go to a caucus where like you will have those kind of gatherings where people don't want to have immigrations. So he will say something like that. Then next day he will be in Brampton and he will be saying something completely different.
hmm.
So
Mm. Definitely that.
what surprised me is I was thinking like maybe this can work in countries where people are like where the mass voters are not that connected with politicians. But in a country like Canada, where news travel very like and people have access to that. People are like more educated, so I want to say like they can see the BS when you talk, but I think they just take them for granted.
Hmm.
Yeah, I felt the same way, especially with Middle East conflict. There's one statement one day and the other statement another day, and with the
Yeah,
speed, the reaction on every event has been
yeah.
as something to watch for. So
And very
thank you
one
for
thing I want to say, one
yeah.
interesting politician who I found a little bit different, and don't hate me for saying that because I have talked with some of the friends and like in the start they were on. Ford is very interesting. Watch some of his
Is
press conference. He's for me he's pleasantly direct as compared to other
mm,
politicians here. He knows like you can dis, and I think that's how the politician should be. Say what you believe, say what you will do, and then have people voted with that much clarity, with that much
yeah,
understanding. Okay, like for example, Trump. He has said so many things, but then people who are voting for him, they knew they like this
what they're
guy
getting
might be crazy,
themselves
this
in.
guy might be. So at least have that clarity.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. Like, let me see all the facts and I'll go
Yeah.
with that information into voting. So the next topic, now we're moving towards tech, and the next topic is something that I guess Tosif is most excited about, and we generally all three of us are. Um, it's called TikTok ban. अब टिकटॉक आपके पास आई थिंक सबको थोड़ा बहुत आइडिया होगा ही बाइट डांस इज अ चाइनीज पेरेंट कंपनी उनकी सोशल मीडिया ऐप है टिकटॉक which basically has videos what it did all over the world is it इसने काफी ज्यादा पैराडाइम शिफ्ट किया है उन लोगों के लिए भी जो कि जिनको इतनी एक्सेस नहीं थी दे वर मेकिंग मनी आउट ऑफ इट हमने पाकिस्तान में ट्रेंड्स देखी हमने लास्ट एपिसोड में इस बारे में बात भी की है कि how they even complied with what Pakistani government demanded. In last couple of years, we saw their CEO come for the like in Congress hearings. We saw a lot of things happening um, from the U.S. and Canadian government both. TikTok was recruiting in couple of months ago in Canada, and then they decided to shut off their offices. Um, so, what do you think, Tosif? I would want you to take a lead on this and let us tell us a little bit of what was happening, what's happening now, and how you see it.
Right. So there has been ups and downs with TikTok. It started actually in the first Trump administration where they tried to move this banning of TikTok. It didn't get anywhere, and it was only last year that Biden government put together this bill that eventually passed through both the houses by like bipartisan support from both sides of the aisle, and like by a massive margin. Like there seems to be clear consensus that we need to move forward with that bill, um, जो कि अब एक लॉ बन चुका है of course. And what they are proposing is कि they're proposing two things: either TikTok is sold to a US concern by 19th January or something,
Yeah, 19th January.
uh, or it will be banned in the US. Um, and the argument that they are making is that since it's a Chinese company, though it is running out of Singapore, uh, being a Chinese business, it is supposed to play by some of the rules put together by the CCP,
Mhm.
um, the Chinese Communist Party. So, what they are saying is that having an app that is running on like 200 million odd devices is a security risk, and the possible, like the solutions that they are, so that is their side of the argument. And the other side of the argument is they are using basically the First Amendment, the freedom of speech, के क्योंकि आप गवर्नमेंट को जो स्पीच रन हो रही है या जो लोगों के ओपिनियंस रन हो रहे हैं टिकटॉक पे, आपको वो नहीं पसंद, दैट्स व्हाई यू आर ट्राइंग टू बैन इट. सो दैट इज व्हाट दे आर ट्राइंग टू, that is the argument that they are taking to the court to reverse this law. Um, it was defeated in the lower court. Like
Hmm.
the law is still in effect, and the countdown clock is ticking towards 19 January, before which they have to sell. And I think they have now, TikTok has now quickly rushed to the Supreme Court, where they want
On
to,
9 December, they did the petition to Supreme Court.
yeah, they want to, I think, put a delay at least to this until this thing is sorted out. But a lot of the people are saying that the likelihood that Supreme Court would give a judgment any different from the lower court is highly unlikely. So it is, in all likelihood, we are moving towards a ban of TikTok in the US, or either it will be sold. So that's the other, so that's by the way is the counter argument to the First Amendment
Hmm.
argument, that अगर आपको speech का issue है, तो just sell the platform and it will continue to have whatever speech is being delivered through the platform. So it's not that, so, and the court is basically agreeing with the national security concern, and they're saying that since one of the foreign entities, by the way, they identify four countries as the foreign entities, so any business backed by those four countries, which includes the Korea, Iran, Russia, and China, they will be considered as the foreign entity. And so those businesses will be looked at the similar kind of concern. um, yeah, so that is where we stand as of now. Trump, who used TikTok very effectively for his election campaign, is all of a sudden liking it, and he has
Yeah,
said that it's like, I'm gonna save TikTok or something.
yeah, he said
Uh,
he has a warm spot for it.
right.
He had a meeting with the CEO, yeah, and LeBlanc.
Yeah, and also he's buddies with one of the major investors in TikTok. I think Jeff Yas is his name. So there is that angle as well. But his last statements, some of the recent statements where he has been asked about TikTok ban reversal, or if he's gonna save TikTok, he has the option to say very openly that yes, he's gonna undo the ban, but he did not. So a lot
Mhm.
of the people are saying that maybe he has been briefed by the seriousness of it, or or there is some serious concern that he was already aware of, and he was just using it for the sake of it, for
Mhm.
the basically his election popularity, because banning TikTok is not a popular thing, something that is being used by like 200 million people. If you're going to ban it, and some of them are like, the average time spent on it is like 90 minutes a day by 200 million people, so just multiply that, that's like a huge sum of attention that TikTok has. Yeah, so still moving ahead with this ban. So probably there is something happening under the hood that is not open in the public. But yeah, that is where we stand as of now.
So, Ali, I want you to talk a little bit about this topic as well, but I also want you to highlight how this ban is different than what authoritarian countries do, like countries like ours, where we say that ban this because it's a national security issue.
Okay, I will answer your first, the last question first, and then we'll go back to what I want to add. I think it's different because it's the way it's being done is through a more involved process. When I say more involved process, I mean I'm just ignoring the political motivation behind that. But the way it's more involved is like there has been hearings, there has been like proper discussions on it, and then everything is public. It's not just like when like I think what happens in mostly in Pakistan or countries like such is like they do the thing first, and then if they want they explain it. So the way it's at least the way it's happening now in US is they said like these are the concerns, then they gave them the options, they still have those options, they had those hearings, then the ban came from lower courts, and now yeah, US Supreme Court is hearing this. I mean, out of like I think you guys know, you folks know, like you Supreme Court has very selective hearings. Like out of I think 17,000 or something, they only hear 100 or something. So obviously this is important for them. But I mean, this is how the different it's different. But then on the other side, let's do a fact check. Is TikTok popular in US? Hell yeah! Like especially in
Yeah.
even if you see the comparison, there is no comparison with
Yeah.
adoption. Is TikTok being useful there? Is it helping you to have their own voice and like is all the algorithm amazing? Yes, there is no comparison. Is it gonna be really painful for companies like Meta, even YouTube, like all the influencer platforms? Yes. Having these facts in mind, and then saying, are there any security issues, concerns? Yes. Is does China has this tendency to like spy on people? Have the data? Like, do you trust China with that much data? The Chinese government is that concern valid? Yes. So I mean, it's an interesting situation where one platform has such a popularity, but then all those concerns where it can be used. So does countries like America, India, who have concerns or issues with China, can they use it as a political tool? Yes. So I think it's a mix of all of those. But then,
It was
as the
already
same,
banned in India, by the way, in the COVID
it is
times.
already banned in
Yeah,
India.
it
So
was.
that's why I mentioned it. I think Canada is
No,
planning to ban.
no, the platform is not banned, but they have removed their offices for some
Yeah,
reason.
they removed them
Hmm.
businesses
No, I
recently.
think we can double check, but I think it's banned but still accessible in Canada. That's what I was like. It's a weird situation where it's banned or like they don't have acceptable presence, but the app is still accessible, something like that. Anyhow, the intention is there even with Canada, and I think Canada mostly probably will just follow, even if there is no full blanket ban, it will just follow.
Yeah.
बट इसके अलावा एक कुछ चीज़ें और भी हैं जो consequences हैं वो ये हैं कि they did some study saying if they ban TikTok, where will all those people go? Like all those creators will go, so they will probably join Meta, like all the platforms which are owned by Meta. So I think this is just gonna fuel the monopoly we have there. So I mean, another thing is, as the chief mentioned, like if you just sell it, everything is okay. That shows what the intent is.
Mm. Okay, so let's move to our last story, which is it aligns with what we have been talking in last couple of episodes. We talked in a AI episode, we talked in energy episode, we talked in last episode as well कि आपके पास AI की डिमांड बढ़ती जा रही है और आपके पास जितनी भी बिग टेक कंपनीज हैं वो या तो एनर्जी में इन्वेस्ट कर रही हैं या फिर वो इन्वेस्ट कर रही हैं वेल नॉट या बट और स्पेंड कर रही हैं चिप्स के ऊपर हमने लास्ट एपिसोड में कवर किया गूगल का जो क्वांटम कंप्यूटर पे प्रोग्रेस है वो किस तरफ उनका लैंडस्केप मूव कर रहा है हमें पता है कि बहुत सी दूसरी कंपनीज भी क्वांटम कंप्यूटर्स पे काम कर रही हैं बट दे नीड टू हैव बिग रिसोर्सेज अब among all of this, December 17th को Nvidia अपना जो है affordable generative AI supercomputer जो है वो they bring it in, which it gives you 1.7x gain in generative AI performance. As someone who has
from its predecessor.
yes, so who has worked with generative AI, who we all have been testing it, but training and tuning and inference and all of that, I think it's a huge improvement. If you look at the benchmarks, the graphs that they have put in, they look amazing. Um, and I know there's a huge element of LLMs. आप उनकी performances तो improve हुई हैं, but जो मेरे लिए चीज़ बहुत interesting है वो है vision transformers. तो आपके पास computer vision की side पे बहुत ज़्यादा improvement है, which and this chip is very small. So that
Palm
means that
size.
yeah, like this means that we can add them to anything. Like आपके पास drones पे you can add them because currently हम GPUs use कर रहे थे. आपके पास surveys के दौरान this could improve the vision processing up, or like on a flight you could actually run inference कि आप किस चीज़ के ऊपर से fly कर रहे हैं और वो क्या चीज़ है, उसको कितनी maintenance चाहिए. Again, there's a military aspect of it. So as we know, कि drones are used in military, तो वो that it goes in that direction as well. इसके अलावा आपके पास robots के लिए बहुत आसानी हो जाएगी. आपके पास autonomous driving. It's gonna definitely change the paradigm that how we are looking at things.
It's also
So
50% cheaper.
it is. Oh my God, the price is
Yeah, they cut
it
in half.
yeah, it hit me like something else. Like I think I've been talking with every person I've seen in last couple of days about it. So Ali, tell me, how do you see it? And for somebody who works with simulations, what your perspective on this is?
Okay, I really like that you put up in this way. Like, can I use it for simulation and stuff? Okay, so I think we should. So it's an amazing tech,
Yeah,
huge advancement for especially for robots and everything. But I don't think it's this is going to be used for stuff like simulations and
no,
those kind of things. So this is not going to replace your desktop GPU or hyper. So I think they're not even claiming.
yeah,
So what's happening is, uh, so this is more like a developer kit. So you have a single chip, single board chip where, for example, by the way, I think it consumes only 25 watt, which is like a light bulb,
yeah,
right?
Mhm.
So what's happening is, for example, if I have this need where I want to have segregated GPU needs, where I don't want to be on the cloud, I don't want to be on like a full-fledged desktop. The way I see it, it's like, and I think somebody mentioned that when I was reading about it, it's like a Raspberry Pi with on steroids.
yeah,
So you can have a GPU which is that much capable as you mentioned, and I think the fact sheet is it does like 70 trillion operations per second. It has six ARM cores, 1024 CUDA cores. I mean, that's amazing. You can run your LLMs, you can have your vision AI, and I think even the tech stack which they are offering is more suitable to think. I think because obviously they are smart, they know
mm,
how it's going to be used. They have a market in their mind, so they know it's going to be used with drones. It's going to be used with security cameras, maybe for like more
yeah,
improved detection and alerts and everything. It's going to be used by many robots, and I think Nvidia has been trying for some quite some long time, seeing that opportunity to have generative AI capabilities with drones on the fly, on the
yeah,
go. So I think that's where it's going to contribute, and the price tag is amazing. I think it's $250, 249 or
yeah,
something. So, but there are a few things to consider, obviously, because it's like it's a developer kit. You need to know those things. You might need to bring more memory and everything. So this is just information for everyone who is trying to get into those kind of things. So before you get even into programming, you need to know how to symbol those, how to put like proper hardware, how to have them on proper configuration. This is not something like as a desktop GPU you buy, you flip it in, you have a tech stack ready. So although like they have metaverse in their in their tools which they're offering. They have their own, I think, tensor apis and everything as
Yeah.
well. You're gonna be limited with limited with options as comparable with desktop GPUs and everything, but obviously that's not their use cases. uh, I think it's going to boost robot intelligence by miles. So I think this is a new phase where Nvidia is seeing so much potential for robots to be way more common than we are seeing right now.
So I guess there's a huge market for autonomous, and Nvidia is going and grab it. So, Tosif, I want you to talk a little bit about how do you think this will affect already amazing operation of Nvidia and their ability to basically lead sort of even policy making for the big tech. They are already making big tech kind of go on their knees when they want them to come and get the stuff that they are doing. So, how do you see that relationship in the future?
Uh, right. So uh, in public, they're playing like uh, very well with each other, but everyone knows that all the big tech companies are not happy with them grabbing all the pie. Um, so and the with this chip, I think we talked last week about the cycle of inference that's gonna come when the adoptions of these models happen. So this chip is like somewhat an answer for that, where and it resolves one of the other issue that I'll speak to is so this chip enables running of those modules, or at least like the minimized versions of those modules on the edge, instead of the request being dispatched to server and being serviced there. So this chip is very important from that point of view. What that means is uh, if you are able to come up with a small enough more, by the way, Chad, GPT uh, 4, the GPT-4 model was could fit on your iPhone. So if an iPhone had that model, and if it had a comparable Nvidia chip, then it would run all of those inference on your phone without having to go to the server. So all those security, camera, data learning के लिए use होगा. um, this chip is an answer to a lot of those questions. So that is inference happening on the chip, or edge computing जिसको हम बोलते हैं. But uh, other than that, Nvidia they will probably accommodate similar chip in the cluster as well, because there has been a talk that though Nvidia has won the, the AI training market, uh, the inference market will be, we're gonna have a different set of winners for the inference markets, like AMD and others who have cheaper solutions. So I think it will happen that Nvidia will not let that market claimed by someone else, and they will even come up with the cheaper solutions for the inference market as well. And why they can do all of that is because they own the whole stack, all the way from chip design, um, up to the software, the middleware, the um, CUDA is NVIDIA only. Other chips do not
Mhm.
support it, and there is a whole community of developers that have basically built their skills using CUDA. So to undo all of that, I think it even if these other companies, the chips that they're working on, if they come up with those, they will have to win a lot of the other these segments in the stack where they need to have like an alternate framework for development, and then have like a large adoption of that framework slash their chip among the developers to eventually have, you know, kind of a counterbalance to what Nvidia has been offering. Yeah, so I think that is the way it is. It will continue to be that way, in my opinion, for quite some time. I don't see a displacement happening anytime soon. So yeah, Nvidia continues to innovate, keeps coming up with newer, better products, and the gap between them and the rest of the market continues to be pretty much the same. So that tells the story why
Might
they
even
are
grow.
getting to dictate everything.
And this, I think, this is exactly why, like, so I think this issue have been very following very keenly. Like all those announcements from ChatGPT, there is not a single new thing for developers.
Yeah.
Now they have pretty much confined themselves like as a consumer based service provider. So I think that's where we will see these chips being adopted by like even by small companies having need of their running their own segregated uh, LLM on their own data lake and stuff like that, because
Yeah.
they don't see much value coming from companies that have their own models.
Right, but I think it still need to be seen. Though this chip that they've come up with is a marvel of technology. I'm not sure how much of an adoption. I don't see how much willingness is there for people to
Have
put these chips on the edge and run compute on themselves, as opposed to the easier solution of um, just use the latest grandest model that is available either from OpenAI or Anthropics, because those are like big models. You cannot put them on devices, right?
Mhm.
So whatever models you will get away with on these edge devices are gonna be like minimized versions of it. Though they will still be useful, people will be able to come up with applications around those, but I think the realization of that is yet to be seen.
yeah, yet
Yeah,
to be seen.
definitely.
That's true. But also, I think there, and it's evolving. Although it's evolving, we have so many governance issues where
Yes,
like
I did
many,
definitely want
many,
to tell
yeah. So many companies can't use those publicly available or like more known models because they can't have the data being shared.
you. Yeah.
And then the amount of effort that goes into all that training and like hardware stack and everything, it's very expensive. So although
Yes.
like as I agree, like this is not a full solution, which we can say as of now, like yeah, this is gonna change everything. But I think, in my opinion, this is the right direction where
Yes.
you will have those
Yeah,
capabilities.
for the private businesses, yeah, I can see that there is a case, but I was thinking more like consumer devices,
Yeah,
like
consumer, I
it,
agree. Like for example, even us, I don't see why I would want to have that running in my house. Like I don't, I'm not the target audience, at least for myself.
Yeah, no, I
right.
agree. But one thing, as we already talked about it, I think predictive maintenance sector and urban infrastructure will definitely see, and military, all three of these sectors will see it
Yeah,
because
for
Yeah,
sure.
military for
military,
Yeah.
sure.
yeah, because
Imagine.
yeah, I
Sorry,
have
go
worked
ahead.
with all three of them, and they all have this answers every problem they have. They don't want
Yeah.
to share their data set. They want something that works on the like on premises, and they want something they are not looking for accurate predictions. Like they are okay with the trade-off, but if it's
Hmm.
giving them faster, it really reduces the time of like quality checks of the data acquired. This will improve that tremendously. So
Interesting.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'm seeing it as. So definitely a remote sensing market will hopefully adapt it, and we would see in next couple of years something interesting coming up. So
What do you guys think of the latest open AI model that came out yesterday, the O3? Did you
I
get to
have
see it?
I didn't get to see it. I saw your graphs though. That looks interesting,
Yeah,
very
some
very
of the
fascinating.
like there are a lot of people, especially on X, that they're claiming that this is AGI, though I'm not convinced. But some of those benchmarks that
Yeah.
they are claiming that they have beaten were kind of considered that if you did better than 85 odd percentage on that benchmark, then you would be considered AGI, and then they did 88%, but they did not claim anything. And they haven't opened the model to the public, and they have opened it for the safety testers to
Hmm.
run
Hmm.
some testing on that. And it is expected to come out around the end of January. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, but
Yeah.
looks interesting.
Yeah, I have seen some feedback from someone on X as well. His take was, oh, it's interesting how Claude can always be comparable, although like lagging, but without saying thinking for 10 seconds.
Yeah,
This was
I
a joke,
think
by the way.
yeah, but for
Mm,
me, what's interesting is like I would want to see the comparison on something Ali shared the other day, the fake alignment part of
mm,
it. And I think that would give us more information on AGI perspective of it because we want to see how it's acting on the harmful queries, and that would kind
mm.
of let us see that okay, how a model can start thinking on its own.
Yeah, so on the algorithmic side, like the programming problems, like the hard programming problems, the score that is achieved would rank it at 175
Yeah.
out of like the top developers in the world. So I think that is a major
Yeah, yeah, for
achievement.
sure.
Yeah, it's a major breakthrough, definitely.
Mm.
So, thank you, both of you. It was an interesting conversation, and I think I'm enjoying this format. Let's keep going with this, and we would like to hear our audience feedback. See you next week.
Sure.
See you.
Thanks
Mm.
everyone.
Bye.